Mike Tyson sat down and did this piece with Jeff Novinsky. It was very interesting. Novinsky is such a regular guy that you would not know unless you knew Novinsky, because he's in a very high position and he's in a position where he comes down on people. But that's the job that he's in. So anything you're ever going to read about Novinsky, oh, Novinsky busted another guy or Novinsky got another guy. But that's also his job. That's the only reason you're ever going to hear about Novinsky, right? It's just one of these things. Very regular guy. So he sits down with Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson begins confessing to cheating on drug tests to Novinsky, the number one authority on drug tests. And Novinsky's okay with it. Like, yeah, you tell me your story. I'm not on the clock. I'm not testing your sample. Share your story with me. And Novinsky they begin going back and forth. And it was this really compelling. It's a very compelling interview. But Mike shares with him that because of cocaine and marijuana use, now I know the rules have loosened on marijuana. I think they've even loosened on cocaine. They call it street drugs. I think they've even loosened on that to some degree, but go back to the 80s here. We're going back to the 90s when Mike Tyson was fighting. Go to prison for that stuff. So he was using what's called a Whizzinator. Do you guys know what a Whizzinator is? Okay. I'm going to tell you anyway, even though I'm going to be embarrassed to tell you. A Whizzinator is a fake prosthetic male genitalia. And the way that works is ties on to your body. They even do flesh colored. So you could have a dark skin tone or a medium skin tone or a light skin tone. Then you fill it with urine. And then when you squeeze it, it comes out. Now, the reason this is relevant, and I went into detail, which was embarrassing, by the way, when you do a drug test, the person administering the drug test must see you derobed. And you could just pull your pants, but they must actually see that you're not pouring from you don't go into a stall by yourself and then come walking back out. It's not like that. So it's very important to have, if you're going to pull the Whizzinator, okay, you got to get everything right. You got to make it all look right. So Tyson's telling the story. And Novinsky's just listening to it. And Tyson said, I was using my wife's urine. And he said, then my wife came to me. And at one point in Tyson's life, he was married to a doctor. I don't know. I think he's been married a few times, so I don't know if that's it. But at one point, he was married to a doctor. So when he said, my wife came and told me, I made the assumption the doctor wife came and told me, hey, by the way, if I'm ever pregnant, that's going to show up. And you're going to be busted for using a woman's urine. And the gig's going to be up. So Tyson started using his children's urine. That's the story, but now let's just break it down for a second. So Tyson was adamant to say, I was using cocaine, I was using marijuana, but I was never using performance enhancers. You got to look at that and go, okay. It's very hard to come clean. And in many ways, this was Tyson's attempt to come clean. Not only was Tyson using performance enhancers, he's using performance enhancers right now. He will go into the Roy Jones fight on performance enhancers right now. You can also use this just from a logical standpoint, right? John Jones used to try to pull this one. He was using cocaine, he was busted for cocaine, but swearing he never used PEDs. Then he fails multiple PEDs tests. But guys, the logic just isn't there, all right? Just use a baseball analogy. You can't get to third base if you didn't touch first. You can't get to third base if you didn't touch second. You just can't. You can't get to the top of the mountain without getting to the base. You can't. So you're trying to tell us that you were willing to use a drug that could alter your state of mind and or overdose you, kill you, for sure would make you lose your license and could imprison you. But you weren't willing to use something that could help you. They're both against the rules. One's not even illegal by law. One you could have in your possession and use it in front of a police officer who would continue to dunk his donut in his coffee. That's the one you're not going to use. One could help you at your job. Performance enhancing are positive words. So you're going to do the illegal overdose, land you in prison drug, but you're not going to use the legal one that makes you, but you understand how insane that is? There's just really no point in saying it. I know so many guys, Hulk Hogan was big on this when he came out and admitted that he did steroids, but then, it was for a shoulder injury, it's for this. Don't come partway clean. And it's very hard as a human being to come all the way clean, in all fairness. It just is, and you guys can relate to that. But that was one of those things within the story. It's like, Mike, if you're going to tell the story, you got to just tell the story. And the whole 2 truths and a lie, that works on children. You can't tell 2 truths and then 1 lie to gain credibility for the lie by telling 2 truths. It doesn't work that way. You did not use cocaine and marijuana only. You did not take PEDs. You were taking PEDs now. You were training on PEDs. You were using PEDs right now. USADA is not the Holy Grail. My eyes are the Holy Grail.